Namaste, my witchlings. Welcome back to Witchy 101. So, this week we have talked about some pretty big subjects. We've talked about closed practices. We've talked cultural appropriation, colonization, commercialization, ethical alternatives, respect, responsibility, and today we're bringing all of it together. Because, after all the internet arguments, all of the social media discourse, all of the accusations, misunderstandings, and confusion, I think the question many people are actually asking is, how do I practice ethically without losing the magic? And witchlings, I really need y'all to hear me when I say this. You do not need someone else's sacred traditions in order to become a powerful witch. You do not need access to every ritual. You do not need every initiatory practice. You do not need every secret teaching, because the most powerful tool in your practice has been with you from the very beginning. You. So today, we're talking about relationship, permission, humility, intention, and the magic that already lives within you. So, spirituality is relational. One of the biggest problems with internet spirituality is that it encourages people to think of traditions as products. Things to collect, things to acquire, things to add to a spiritual shopping cart. But many traditions just don't work that way. Most traditions are relationship-based. They are not consumption-based. They are relationship-based. Community matters. Teachers matter. History matters. Context matters. And permission matters. And most of all, I'm going to say lived experience matters. Now, some traditions are completely open. Some are partially open. There are some that require initiation. Some require lineage. Some require years and years of study. And some simply are not available to outsiders. And honestly, that's okay. It really is okay. Modern culture teaches us that if we want something bad enough, we deserve access to it. I hate that too, because spirituality doesn't work like that, my witchlings. Not everything is ours to take, especially if you have skin the same shade as mine, and not everything needs to be ours to take. Now, here's where things become a little more nuanced, because permission and invitation are very real things. People do become welcomed into traditions through family, through marriage, through community, through mentorship, through years and years of trusted relationships. That happens. And pretending it doesn't happen oversimplifies reality. For example, because of my former marriage and my relationship with that Native family and community, there were practices that I was genuinely invited to. My ex-father-in-law, who is currently chief of their tribe, was the tribe's medicine man. The permissions I received came through those years of family connection, community participation, shared experiences, and trust that the family built in me. That matters a lot. That is very different from buying something online because it looked interesting. Relationship changes the conversation. Context changes the conversation. And ethical spirituality requires us to acknowledge that. Now, many of us are familiar with the practice of smoke cleansing. We're going to get into a personal reflection here. Even though the permission existed in that chapter of my life to smudge, I personally no longer call what I do smudging. Nobody forced that decision. Nobody demanded it, and nobody canceled me over it. My relationship to those practices has simply evolved. My current husband has the Native ancestry, yes, but unlike my ex-husband, he did not grow up within those traditions the way my ex did. And over time, I realized that smoke cleansing felt more accurate for what I was actually doing today. Now, that shift wasn't about fear. It wasn't about internet approval. It was about honesty. I thought about the fact that when I go out to things like the MeWe fairs or the Pacific Northwest Witches Market events, and I look like this, and I'm, talking about Native American practices, it just did not feel appropriate. That is awareness, reflection, humility. I am because ethical spirituality isn't about memorizing rules. Again, it's awareness, reflection, humility, and relationship. And sometimes growth means recognizing that our connection to something has changed. And trust me when I say that is okay. And I think one of the healthiest questions any practitioner can ask is this: am I approaching this from entitlement or gratitude? Entitlement says, I want this, therefore I deserve it. Gratitude says, I am thankful for what has been shared with me. And those are very, very, very different energies. Spiritual traditions are not Pokemon. You don't got to catch them all. They are not collectibles. They're living systems connected to living people. And living traditions deserve respect. People can feel the difference between someone who approaches with humility and someone who approaches with entitlement. Because one seeks relationship and the other seeks ownership. And trust me when I say those are not the same thing. Another thing I think we struggle with in modern spirituality is the idea that learning automatically means belonging. It doesn't. You can study a tradition. You can read about it. You can listen. You can learn. You can appreciate and respect without claiming membership, and for the love of all things holy, without declaring ownership, without making it part of your entire identity. Sometimes appreciation is enough. Sometimes respectful observation is enough. And honestly, there is some real beauty in that, because not everything needs to belong to us in order to enrich our lives. Yet again, I am going to say, how many of us celebrate Taco Tuesday? I know humility isn't a particularly popular spiritual buzzword. People want power, manifestation, mastery, ascension, high vibration. But humility? Humility asks us to say, I may not fully understand this, or I may need to listen more. I may have more to learn. That may not belong to me. And honestly, that there is some serious wisdom. I trust people who can admit uncertainty far, far more than people who claim to know everything. Because humility creates room for growth. And growth is, once again, a big part of the craft. Now let's bring this conversation home, because after discussing what may or may not be appropriate to borrow from other traditions, some people become afraid. They start wondering, am I allowed to do anything anymore? And the answer is yes. Abso-freaking-lutely yes. Because here is the truth. The power was never in the tools, or the aesthetic, or the smoke, or the crystal, or the candle. The power has always been you. The tools support the work, but you are the craft. Your awareness, your focus, your intention, and your relationship with the world. That is where the magic lives. So, let's talk about a few accessible practices that literally anyone can use. We have breath. It is the simplest tool you own. You take a slow breath in, slow breath out. Breath changes the nervous system. Breath changes awareness. Breath changes focus. One conscious breath can shift your entire experience. That matters. Next, we have visualization. Imagine golden sunlight just pouring through your body, flowing through each and every muscle, every thought, every worry. Imagine it washing away stress and heaviness. Or you can use my favorite visualization that I stole from a former friend. The giant pink car wash foam bubble is just entirely coating your energy field, sliding away every bit of emotional gunk that has accumulated during the day. Yes, it's ridiculous, but yes, it works because intention matters. Sound. You can ring a bell, clap your hands, hum, sing, play music intentionally. Sound changes space, it changes mood, and it changes awareness. I've had songs that I could physically feel building energy while I was listening to them. The room changes, the atmosphere changes, my focus changes. That's magic. Not because the song itself is magical, because intention and awareness transform the experience. Now, at the end of the day, my witchlings, this entire week has really been about one thing: relationship. Relationship with culture, community, spirituality, ethics, and relationship with ourselves. Because witchcraft is not a costume or an aesthetic or a shopping list or a performance. It is a living relationship with energy, awareness, intention, and the world around us. And ethical practice does not weaken that relationship, it truly strengthens it. Once again, I'm going to quote Maya Angelou here: when we know better, we do better. That applies spiritually as well. So tonight, your homework. I want you to spend some time reflecting on 2 questions. First, what spiritual practices do I feel genuinely connected to? And second, what practices am I primarily drawn to because of appearance, trend, or aesthetic appeal? Don't judge yourself. Just notice. And then choose one simple cleansing practice using only open, accessible methods. Use brain. Use brain. Yes. Use breath, visualization, music, prayer, grounding, candles, or intention. And then afterward, sit quietly and ask yourself, how does ethical practice feel in my body? Not intellectually, not politically, or philosophically, in your body. Because when spirituality is rooted in integrity, it often feels steadier, clearer, more grounded, more honest. And that kind of magic lasts. I'm Di the Yoga Witch, my witchlings. And this week, we have explored closed practices, cultural respect, ethical spirituality, humility, relationship, and the power already living within you. Remember, you do not need to take what is not yours in order to become powerful. Practice with awareness, with integrity, honor living traditions, trust your own intuition, keep learning, keep growing, and keep tending the heart fire. Until next time, my witchlings, trust your intention, practice with integrity, keep the heart fire burning, and go out and make some good trouble, will ya? This is Witchy 101.